We're in the final stretch of this month, which means we're going to do another big franchise. And we were wondering for a while which one that would be because we've covered most of the franchises. And then it occurred to us that we hadn't done this one. So what we're going to do is sort of like what we did with the Halloween series a couple of years ago. It'll be the first four in this one, and then the second one will be the remake and the prequel to the remake. And then the third video will be a video that's just me, that's of the 3D one and Leatherface and the Netflix one will be, and that'll be the last three videos up to the 30th, and then the 31st is going to be a big video that we all shot as a panel, so you'll be seeing that shortly after this. So, yeah, like we did the other franchises, I guess we're just going to go one movie at a time, and whatever comes up will come up. But also, much like when we did Halloween, we didn't really spend too much time on the first one because it was something we'd already talked about quite a bit and something that people have heard us talk about quite a bit. And when we did, much also like Halloween, when we did a top 5 horror movies video back in, I think, 2021, this was on both of our lists. So we both have talked about it on camera. So just to like quickly reiterate how we feel about this, I think we both think it's one of the greatest horror movies ever made. I've gone on record saying I think it has the scariest scene, individual scene in movie history, but the dinner scene. And I think just the way it almost feels documentary-like and really real, and like they just went out in the middle of nowhere and just filmed something, and this is what came out, is still insane to me. That this is as great and memorable and long-lasting as it is, and still has that same impact. The discs I'm looking at right now on the DVD here are of the dinner scene, and it's actually wigging me out a little bit, even just looking at them in that fashion. But, yeah, how do you feel about this one?
It's a stone cold classic.
Yeah. I remember when, we might have mentioned this in the other video, where you actually saw this one before me, because when we did the thing where we marathoned all the franchises, this was the one I was kind of afraid of. Mm-hmm. Just, not even just Leatherface, but just the title alone. I was like, I don't know. So you actually, when we rented it, you watched it the night before I did, and then you kind of guided me through it as we went. and you were like, it's really not that gory.
No, they definitely cashed in on the gore later.
Yeah.
But with this one, like, it's more the atmosphere and the events surrounding it that brings the horror.
Yeah. And it's a tale as old as time. What's implied is scarier than what's actually shown. Mm-hmm. And so that's...
A lot more horror movies could take a lesson from that.
Yeah. And it's the same of, like, when we see a lot of, I guess you could call it aftermath, when we see, like, you know, rooms full of bones and like a couch of bones and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it's like that, just like that long since aftermath tells us all of the horror that went on here, and it's still really gross without being technically gory. I guess you could call it gruesome without being gory, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Which makes it like really unique, I think, also. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, in the way, one thing I always love to talk about is when she's, like, kind of going through the house, it seems like the maze of the house is bigger than what the actual house looks like on the outside. Mm-hmm. So it's almost surreal as we're, like, going through the hell of each room. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's getting, like, there's impossibly more and more rooms and more disturbing things in each room.
Yeah, it's like the house that's featured in the movie is the size of the one from the remake.
Yeah.
Which is, I think I called it the fucking fortress whenever we were watching the remakes.
Yeah.
Or the remake and the prequel to the remake.
So yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about this one, I think. Is that pretty much you?
I think it's interesting, too, when you look back at this one and you look at the later movies, what they tried to capture with this one. Like, the thing that always comes to mind to me is Leatherface's... I don't really know if you call it gender fluid, but he, like, cross-dresses and stuff, and you can tell either people completely didn't get it or they just didn't even try.
Yeah.
Like, when you get into the later movies, Leatherface is either way over the top or just another hulking movie monster.
When you say way over the top, I think we all know which movie you're talking about.
We'll get to it. People's fears spawned in this movie, like fear of like being out in the middle of nowhere, fear of picking up a hitchhiker, fear of coming across a house full of psychopaths, like
being in a place you're not supposed to be, and being stuck there.
yeah, and it's an area you're completely unfamiliar with.
Yeah.
Like there's no comfort around, and it's like this was actually, I'm surprised that this line or a variation of it wasn't used until the prequel remake. They're trying to figure out how they're going to get out of there, and one of them, I can't remember which character says it, says there's no
help to go for.
There's no help to go for.
Yeah.
Because, like, well, in the remakes, it's like, you know, Arlie Ermey runs the town, but in this one, it's like the police are so caught up in the grave robbings, like there's nothing. There's no police to go get, and you're so far out in the middle of nowhere. And every movie, it's always, oh, go down this road. That's a shortcut. So it's an abandoned road. We live in a state that has a lot of those.
Yeah, it's always the gas station that you start at.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the grave robbing. We didn't even mention the iconic opening scene, where it's the camera sound effect and John Larroquette's voice, and then that corpse that's like tied to the tombstone. That is a horrifying.
I feel like John Larroquette's voice brings like almost an air of classiness to it too.
Yeah,
he has a very good narration voice. like I understand everybody loved Morgan Freeman's narration voice, but I would take John Larroquette all day too.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I just finished watching him on Night Court a few months ago. And it's just Shenanigan City.
You wouldn't think he'd be so appropriate for something like this.
Yeah, you wouldn't. You absolutely wouldn't. But yeah, I think this is a movie that, you know, there's a lot of people that are like you. Like, they're afraid to watch it, and you have to explain to them, you're not watching a movie from the 2000s. You're watching a movie that was very low budget, so there wasn't much gore to be shown.
And it's like, don't get us wrong, you will be terrified.
Yeah, but you won't be grossed out.
You won't be bombarded with gore.
No. You save that for the later movies.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, should we continue on to the next movie?
Yeah, let's head over to the bonanza that is 2.
So it's interesting when we get to 2, and tone-wise, we're going in a totally different direction.
Which won't be the last time we do this.
Yeah, but the reason it's especially amazing in this one is that it's still Hooper.
Yeah.
If I didn't know and I was watching this one, I would automatically assume, crew-wise and everything else, they went a totally different direction. But no, this is the same director as the original movie. It just has a completely different feel to it.
The only actor that carries over is the one that plays the dad.
Yeah. And the thing about that is, even in the marketing, I don't know if you remember that they took a comedy approach, where they recreated the Breakfast Club poster with the Sawyer family.
That's hilarious.
Have you not seen that poster?
No.
Oh, it's amazing. And so, yeah, there's like a total and complete tone shift here. And not to mention, the writer, by the way, is L.M. Kit Carson, who wrote Paris, Texas. So, 2 movies with Texas in the title that could not possibly be any more different by this same writer. And we're still like in the canon. We're 12 years later after everything that happened in the first movie, and we've got Dennis Hopper as the uncle of Sally and Franklin, basically coming for revenge, and that's what his part of the story is.
And it's funny because Tobe Hooper really knows how to use his Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Because we get subtle, sympathetic Dennis Hopper, and then we get dual-wielding chainsaws, balls to the wall Dennis Hopper.
Which is basically the entire second half of his screen
Which,
time.
in any other movie, when you hear Dennis Hopper wielding dual chainsaws, he's the villain.
Yeah.
Any other movie you hear that sentence, he's the villain.
I hadn't even really thought about it that way. It tells you everything you need to know about the Sawyer family, that he's technically the hero.
Yeah. One thing that I think we both agreed on is this movie definitely has the worst lead actress.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Caroline Williams, who is, like, you know, iconic in her own way when you see, like, you know, the horror final girls of the time, especially with how she turns out. But yeah, it's another horror staple, you might say, is there's two kinds of performances in horror. There's incredible Oscar-worthy performances all over horror. It's like there's so many horror movies you can watch, like from back in the day or now, and say this person should have gotten all the awards for this. And another type of acting that horror is known for, basically the only other type of acting horror is known for, if not greatness, is the other side of the spectrum.
And we'll talk about a movie later, you probably know which one we're going to say, where depending on how you look at that performance, it goes either way.
Yes.
We'll get to him.
But, you know what this conversation makes me want to transition to? Is a performance in this movie that basically was like A Star is Born with Bill Moseley.
Yeah.
This is where, like, if you listen to Bill Moseley in interviews, he will basically tell you that, like, this movie in his career was, like, a before and after defining moment. Where it's like, once he showed the performance he had in this, his status, because obviously he's like a horror icon now, that status was basically instantaneous as soon as people saw Chop Top. So I want to delve into Chop Top a little bit. First of all, the fact of who his character is kind of interesting when you're coming in not knowing. Because I remember we mistook him for the hitchhiker having come back to life after getting hit by the truck. And when we looked into it, we realized that apparently that's a pretty common misconception. And I guess he's supposed to be Nubbins' twin brother, is what I understand. And yeah, Nubbins is the hitchhiker who is the corpse that he's carrying around with him. I wasn't for the longest time, I wasn't sure if that was supposed to be the hitchhiker or like some war buddy of his, because he's also wearing like a camouflage jacket. But the whole family's probably war veterans in some sense or another. But yeah, seeing like his makeup where he's got the visible metal plate and he's like scratching it with a coat hanger the entire movie and picking and eating the dead skin off around it, all while giving this magnificently insane performance. I waxed poetic about Bill Moseley endlessly when I talked about the Firefly trilogy. Like, I could not stop talking about how amazing Bill Moseley was. And this movie is pretty much the same way, I think. And the fact that he's introduced in such a... Like, when you don't know the character's coming and you're from the perspective of somebody seeing the movie for the first time, and we're also looking at it from Stretch's perspective, where she's seeing him for the first time, because we think, you know, oh, she's going to see Leatherface, or she's going to see somebody in some kind of threatening manner. This is before we've seen Chop Top as an audience, let alone her. And so when she comes in and Chop Top is there and does his big first scene, just nobody's expecting that. The sight of him, this performance, who the character is and what he looks like, just anything.
And what's neat about that too is that whole scene is really, really good at building tension. And you think the tension's with him. And that scene ends literally by Leatherface, who's been waiting in this dark room the entire time.
Yes.
Just running out, and there he is.
Maybe one of the better jump scares I can think of when I think of, like, the great jump scares. I feel like that one comes to mind. And he's got two. There's the one where he busts through the wall. But this one is, like, the one. Because we see that empty background, that darkness, for most of this scene while they're talking. And then as soon as the light comes on, like, it's like the chainsaw's, like, suddenly running at the same time the light comes on. And it's incredibly well done.
And the way the tension's done, it's like, and I always, to steal a phrase from you, wax poetic about this scene. It'd be like watching the opening scene of Inglourious Basterds and then the Leatherface just runs out of a room. Like, the tension build is that good. One thing that I want to also bring up about this movie is nowadays, a lot of people use the phrase, the money's on the screen, Like whenever there's an expensive movie and there's all the special effects.
Yeah.
With this movie, the money is on the screen with the sets.
Holy shit.
The set of the I'm gonna call it the Sawyer lair.
That's good.
The set for the Sawyer lair is fucking phenomenal.
It's and I can't even when I see production design that good and that elaborate and detailed. Always my first thought is when you're the production designer and you're like on the set that day, where do you even start?
Yeah, and I think that's something that's missing from a lot of movies today. We would use green screens or CGI or something like that, and they didn't have that in 1986 to the extent that they do now. Like this was very hard work that absolutely shined on the screen.
And it feels like because when you say that, it's like because people are looking for the shortcuts when they make movies now, and it's like this is from at least like from this particular crew and filmmaker. It's like you get the sense that nobody wanted shortcuts. Like shortcuts weren't even like on anybody's mind. It was like, let's make this as incredible and like dirty and disgusting and detailed, but also magnificent as much as we possibly can.
And it's funny because until you get to their lair, which you don't see it until we get there, and then we stay there.
Yeah.
You think going in that it's as low budget as the first one, and then you see the sets for the Sawyer lair, and it's just like, oh hell, this is where all the money went in production. And they take full advantage of it because there's some excellent shots in there too to show off the sets. Like Toby Hooper or the DOP, whoever was in charge of the shots, clearly loved the sets too, because they did a great job shooting them.
One of the first ones I think of is that tunnel where it's like the lights all around and it's like chandeliers like all down. It's not like just a chandelier here and there. They're like all down the path.
And then you look at where the dinner table is, and it's this big, huge room, and it's almost like the production design was showing off. As we zoom out and you look up, there's a fucking skeleton with a cowboy hat riding a rocket. It was like the set designer was just showing off at that point. Like, look what I can do.
And it's like there's like layers to it because it's like we were talking about with the house in the first movie, where it's like it just keeps going. Like there's more and more places to go. Eventually, her and Chop Top start going up, and there's more sets up there.
Yeah.
There's like a whole other... Because it's like a throne for Grandpa at the dinner table. And then we go up to where Grandma is, and Grandma's got like her own throne room.
Yeah.
And it's just like it feels endless in the best way. And it's insane for a movie like this, because you look at it, because this was at an era where horror was pretty dismissed. Where it's like this... Like, when you look at like critics and stuff like that, they were either very dismissive of this or probably just didn't even bother with it. And it's like you see it now and it's like this real piece of bizarre art. And it's like to think of how horror was treated like back then so dismissively and how much effort and detail was put into it, especially in this one.
Yeah. This is, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is the only one that, you know, we have deaths that prelude it, and then after that, we only have one more. Until the family.
Yeah. And it's...
Because you've got the two guys in the car, which that bridge scene's freaking great, too.
Yeah.
The only downside to it is you can tell they're driving really slow. They're supposed to be driving fast, but I'm going to chalk that up to 80s limitations. Yeah. But the setup is really cool, and the corpse, using it like almost like a full, like, disguise, but nobody's disguised with it, they're just holding it.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
And that's also when we're introduced to where they're willing to go with gore. Because it's like, you look at the first movie, and it's like you're expecting the goriest movie ever, and there's hardly any gore at all. And then you go into this one, once again, you think, oh, it's the same director, maybe it'll be the same way. And this opening scene is so graphic.
Yeah.
With the head getting sliced in half, and all the even all the build up to it feels so much higher budget, with being on that bridge with the two cars and everything going simultaneously.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a Casey Becker situation, because you're riding along with these guys, you're getting to know them. It feels like this is where your central plot's going to be, and then they just get killed off.
Yeah.
And that's what kicks off the movie.
Yeah.
And I think the concept is really interesting too, where this all gets started because they got killed while they called into a radio show. Yeah. And so the death wasn't even witnessed. It was just recorded.
Yeah, so like partially witnessed.
Yeah. Which is really funny, like when you think about it, because the first one, the opening credits focused on pictures, which have no sound. And then in the second one, the focus is sound with no picture.
That's a good observation.
Yeah. It's like, it goes with what you said. We literally went in the opposite direction in all facets. 2 is, if you know what kind of movie you're going to get, 2 is really easy to enjoy.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what kind of movie you're going to get, it might lose you for a little bit.
I remember I didn't like this one when I first saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, I don't know if I was just expecting something more like the first one, or if I just thought it was just an odd direction tonally to go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I think it's especially when we get to the later ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, when you see the directions later ones go, and then you come back to this one, which we'll talk about more as we go on to the other ones. But it's also another one where it's like, when you see what directions it went in and how kind of inspired it was by comparison to what would come later also. I think retrospect helped it a lot.
I think what's also unique about this movie is once we get to... It's pretty straightforward horror until we get to the compound. And then we are literally watching a horror movie and a revenge movie occur simultaneously.
Yeah.
Like...
And that kind of brings us back to Hopper. There was one moment I forgot to mention about Hopper that I love, and it's when you were talking about the 2 chainsaws. Mm-hmm. It's when he goes to the store, and he goes in, and he looks around, and he basically shops, and then he takes them outside, and then he starts sawing into the logs maniacally, and the clerk's like cheering him on, and it's like, Hopper has no dialogue in that entire sequence. When there was almost no dialogue at all until the clerk finally started talking.
Yeah, and most of his dialogue through the second half of the movie is screaming and, like, quoting scripture-like quotes.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 things he does. And because it's Dennis Hopper, he does them beautifully.
And the way, like, from Stretch's perspective, how it's, like, descending into a nightmare when we get to the lair, because she's chasing after them, and then she thinks Lefty's chasing her until she realizes what's going on, and then she just abruptly sinks into the ground, looking like she's falling into hell, and then it turns out, oh, Lefty was using her as bait this whole time, and then how does Lefty try to help her? He picks up what's left of a severed arm, not realizing what it is in the moment, and that's what she's reaching for. It's like, imagine all of this from Stretch's perspective. I might be falling into hell. Oh shit, the guy I trusted was using me as bait. Oh my god, am I holding a severed arm?
Yeah. And then you have the juxtaposition of Stretch trying to crawl up out of the lair as Lefty is going down further in to exact his revenge.
Yeah. It's insane. Like,
and they never, once they get to the lair, once she falls in that hole, they don't interact again.
Oh my god.
They're on 2 separate planes. The closest it gets is she's getting ready to get out, and Lefty's doing his sawing thing and blocks her exit. And just another show off to the sets, in the random rubble is a fucking rotting corpse. Just hanging out there. It's like the set designers looked at it and they're like, not enough corpses. We need one more corpse here.
And speaking of corpses, you were talking about our body count and how limited it is, despite how gory it is and how many corpses are in the movie. But one thing that was interesting that always stood out to me was, I remember being really, like, grossed out and repulsed by LG's skinning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, there is a funny, absurd... If we're just talking about LG as a character, because he has his whole spitting trademark.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of those places where you know the movie is being comedic on purpose is that while Chop Top is beating him nearly to death, he's still spitting.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's his own, like that's his source of life. And then later, when he's like skinned, what's the one thing he can still barely do, even without lips. But yeah, the thing that was interesting to me was what my mind did remembering this movie, with a big gap in time between times that I saw it. Because I remembered especially thinking that the skinning of LG and the aftermath of LG getting skinned was just so horrific and gruesome and bloody and gross. And it's definitely gross, of course. But when we were watching it again, I was like, I feel like I remember that being a lot gorier. I think it's his mouth that freaks me out. Because it's like just teeth and gums. But yeah, for some reason my mind made that even more gory in my head than it actually is. Which is interesting. But maybe it's just the pure insanity of the movie as a whole that was warping my perception of what we actually see. I was just thinking about that when we were describing it just now. Just describing what the movie is once we're down there. And it's like, just the description makes it feel like you're descending into insanity.
And she's also dealing with the fact that Leatherface is either helpful or completely unhelpful.
Yeah. Wait, that's one part of the movie that I don't know. Is they've given Leatherface a sexual aspect, where we have this weird moment where Stretch is like, she's acting like she's cornered, but she's kind of not really cornered. She's sitting on like where ice and drinks are, and Leatherface is just sawing into those. And it makes it seem like he's closing in on her, but they're both not moving while he's sawing into this. And then they make the chainsaw into this phallic thing, where he's like between her legs, and then she starts using that to her advantage. And it's, I don't know how.
But then it just goes away.
Yeah, it comes back a little later in the layer, but it's never, I don't remember it being like a payoff.
Yeah.
It was,
and her final fight is more so with Chop Top than Leatherface.
Yeah, it makes it feel like Chop Top's like the main villain.
Yeah.
Through the whole thing, really. He's definitely the most unhinged. Because we do bring Grandpa back. Grandpa, it does seem like he's in better condition this time than he was in the first movie. But by Grandpa standards.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, I guess that happens to Leatherface a lot, where it does seem like he's just sort of the idiot brother, rather than the main antagonist. That's interesting how it's like Chop Top feels like it's like the final level. And like they're even ascending like levels.
And even in the first one, you kind of have that with the dad. Because the dad captures Sally.
Yeah.
The dad does everything. And like you said, Leatherface is almost relegated to a side character. And that happens in every single movie.
Yeah, one of the other scariest scenes in the first movie is when we realize that she's gone to him for help back at the gas station, and to realize he's part of it.
Yeah.
And that's something that has nothing to do with Leatherface or chainsaws or anything.
No, and that's kind of where the there's no help to go to kind of kicks off for the series.
Yeah.
Because everybody's in on it. Because the same thing happens in 3, the same thing happens in Next Generation.
Yeah.
And talking about Leatherface becoming a side character, I would dare say you don't even need Leatherface in the Next Generation. He's definitely not the big bad.
Yeah, you really don't.
No.
And
that could have been a movie all its own without him.
And it's funny to build that up that way, and in this movie, basically at the end, while the confrontation with Chop Top is going on, supposedly, as far as we leave it and what we see, Leatherface and Drayton appear to be taken out simply because Drayton gives up.
Yeah.
Dennis Hopper is so fucking crazy. Drayton's like, fuck this, and drops a grenade.
I think this definitely qualifies as a movie where if you know what you're getting, you like it, and if you don't know what you're getting, you're going to be on the fence.
Also, speaking of the final confrontation, is it a callback to when Stretch gives Chop Top a tour of the studio and then says, and there's the exit sign?
Mm-hmm.
And when they go up to, like, the escape and, like, where Grandma is, there's an actual exit sign?
Yeah.
Okay. Just blatant callback.
Yeah, because that's how he would have learned how to spell exit.
Ah. Also, one other thing about this climax, and I remember you reacting to it, was because it's kind of similar to what we reveal about Grandpa, because the shocking thing about Grandpa in the original movie is when we realize he's still alive. And then when we're up in, like, Grandma's part of the layer, and she's this clearly decaying corpse, and then...
She's kind of like Mrs. Voorhees.
Yeah, post-decapitation. And then she starts moving. Barely, but moving just enough for us to know somehow there's still life in there.
Yeah, and it's what makes it even crazier is when she rips the chainsaw away, dust flies.
Yeah. But yeah, we were hating as an actress, but that very last shot of the movie where Stretch has gone insane and she's doing the Leatherface hip wiggle herself. The Leatherface hip wiggle, which I'm pretty sure is only in this movie. Even though I feel like that's one of his, like, trademark looks. It's like when you see that, like when you see a character raise a chainsaw, that's probably what they're gonna do. So yeah, this is just complete insanity in the best way. And it's also one of those movies that's so fun to talk about in retrospect when you're looking back on just how much insanity is in it, because your brain almost can't process all the insanity as you're watching it. It has to really sink in.
And you were talking about how it's not subtle, but one of the first, like, uhs that you get uneasy is you realize Grandpa won the chili cook-off, and then you're like, oh, I know what that's made of.
Yeah. I remember when Drayton was going home and you saw the chili in the trophy, you're like, that trophy's disgusting. And that's even without thinking about the fact that that's human made.
Yeah. Very, very odd movie. And the movie knows what it's doing, because right here on the back of the box, I'm reading this statement that says the movie raised the stakes, and raised is spelled R-A-Z-E-D. This movie knows what it's doing.
So yeah, would you say that's pretty much this one?
Yeah.
Alright, let's go on to the, I don't feel like very talked about third movie.
No.
So, this one's an interesting one, given that it doesn't seem like it's very much discussed, or doesn't really have any particular standout scenes in the way that the other movies have them.
Well, first of all, this is the first movie where Leatherface is just a hulking monster and doesn't really have any other...
Yeah.
Nothing else makes him unique.
Yeah, and even compared to the other actors that have played him, because this guy is a big guy, but in this movie, Leatherface looks kind of slimmed down compared to the other ways we've seen him.
But even then, like, in the first two movies, Leatherface didn't come across as this imposing force.
Yeah, I feel like Gunnar Hansen had that a little bit.
But not too.
Yeah, and not to the extent of when we get to, like, the newer ones.
Yeah, the newer ones, he's just like a Hulk.
Yeah. And I guess it's worth noting that this movie is by the very underrated Jeff Burr, who actually just lost in the last year or two. And this was an interesting movie because it was the final movie, as far as I know, it was the final movie to be rated X before they brought NC-17 in. And it was X before it was edited down into its quite edited R-rated version. And so, because we've watched both versions, and you can, in the R-rated version is the one we watched most recently, and you can really see how, like, edited down it. You can tell where it's a much gorier movie. But there's still something in this one, and it is Leatherface entering the 90s. And I like that we hit, like, every decade for a little bit here, where we had 70s, 80s, and 90s, and all those eras had their own vibe. And there's something it is 1990, it's right at the start of the 90s, but this one definitely has a 90s vibe
Yeah.
to it. And the rock soundtrack is certainly part of that.
Mhm. I feel like with this one too, like I can't wait to get to McConaughey. He literally watched Viggo Mortensen's performance and he was like, "Yeah, he's crazy. I can go crazier."
Yeah. And it's also interesting. What's also interesting about this one is it's basically, especially when you look at the opening text, which like every movie has in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of a standalone movie
Mm-hmm.
because it sort of retcons some stuff that we know,
Mm-hmm.
and basically everything in this got retconned after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Because they talk about, like, Sally died in healthcare in 1977. There's a character named W.E. Sawyer that's, like, that was the only member caught and prosecuted. And he got the gas chamber in 1981.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this... And they say, like, if there actually was a Leatherface, he's still out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, all of this is retconned. Literally by the next movie. Because, like, W.E. is a character in The Next Generation... and there's hints of Sally throughout the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I think actually that may work in its favor, that it basically out of its power, outside of its power, got set up as a standalone movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually that makes me more okay with this movie. I think.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the interesting additions that they did for this movie that we don't see in any of the other movies, to the remake to an extent, but not in the same way this one's used, a child is a part of the family.
Yeah, really effectively so, too.
Yeah, like her skeleton baby doll.
I hate it. It's one of my least favorite things in this franchise,
Mm-hmm.
but that's a compliment. In this particular franchise, that's a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, because that's one of those things where it really couldn't have worked in many other ways. That could have been like a cringe factory,
Mm-hmm.
having that kind of character here. But personally, in my opinion, I think it works and it's super creepy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the doll, I think, helps a lot as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I think also with this movie where I said too, knew how to use this Dennis Hopper. This one knows how to use its Ken Foree.
Yeah. Where he's the one that's kind of the character he was really good at.
Mm-hmm.
Like back in this era of horror, where he was the one that kind of came in and was kind of the brawn
Mm-hmm.
and would be like one of the only people that could actually stand up to whatever evil force is going on here.
Yeah. And he never really came across like super scared. He just came across more of I gotta get myself out of this situation.
Yeah, because we were talking about there being obviously this is a franchise that will give you trust issues
Mm-hmm.
because there's always this feeling that everybody's in on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love the way this movie especially plays with who can you trust,
Mm-hmm.
because so many characters are coming in and we're already put off balance by the guy Alfredo at the gas station.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Mortensen comes in, what's great about the casting of Mortensen is that he does seem like just like a charming stranger.
Yeah, he's kind of like almost like Brad Pitt and Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and then we don't even see him for a while, and it looks like at first that Alfredo might have killed him.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of, at least back then when you didn't know who Viggo Mortensen was, you probably stopped thinking about him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he came back,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's when like everything starts to close in. But you get like Ken Foree comes in, and it's like, oh my god, can we trust this person? Then Hook guy comes in,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Tinker is his name. And then there's this manic girl that comes up that is apparently an escaped victim,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like the way she like enters the movie, and Ken Foree says like, you know, who the hell are you? And it's like that's exactly what we're thinking at that same moment.
Yeah, but then he follows her anyway.
Yeah. But it does turn out that she was just a victim that had kind of gone crazy after having gotten away.
Yeah, she doesn't stay away very long.
Yeah. Kind of, basically, this is what, like, would have happened to Sally if she didn't jump into the back of a truck.
Mm-hmm.
So I love how much we go into that whole thing of embracing one of the great aspects of the original movie in throwing in characters and making us just completely paranoid of everybody.
I thought too, one thing that I wasn't sure, I still don't know how I feel about it, is in the second one, Drayton has the great line where he says the saw is family when he's telling Leatherface to pick. And then in this one, it's engraved on the chainsaw.
I know the engraving is on the nose. I don't hate it, but I do. What I actually love is how fucking shiny that thing is, and that it does feel like it's brand, because it's like given to him as a gift. So it's like it is brand new, and I love just like the fact of what's going to happen to this, like what its purpose is, and seeing it at its start just so incredibly clean and shiny, and knowing that's just gonna change so much as it goes on, as this spree continues. I like the appearance of the chainsaw, of that one in particular.
I remember this one not feeling like it had a lot of cannibal vibes either.
Yeah, it does feel like that's something that becomes less and less as the franchise goes, weirdly enough.
And then the remake prequel tries to bring it back. But I think that's also one of those things that it's better that it's implied. It makes it a little more creepy that it's implied. Because it's like, are they? I mean, they're definitely weird enough to be, but is that explicitly what's going on?
I guess you would say, the biggest giveaway is all of the bones, of course. But I mean, that could also just be a murderer's house. And it's like... And it does.
It could also be, you know what? Lumber's gotten expensive. We got some bodies in the basement.
And we do, have vibes of like another movie that really falls into this ilk, even though the original Texas actually predates it by 3 years, is The Hills Have Eyes. The original Hills Have Eyes. And like even similar stories with like the gas station and the guy there warning you to only go on certain paths and stuff like that. The thing that's become like the trope.
Because the first thing that comes to mind that also used it in a very similar way was House of a Thousand Corpses. That setup is extremely similar to Texas.
And very, very much paying homage. And like the last scene of that also is totally paying homage to Sally being picked up. I also love the double meaning for Last Chance Gas. Where it's like, because it's the idea of when you're out in the middle of nowhere, this might be your last chance to get gas for a while. But it's also like, this is your last chance, like, for the rest of your life.
I feel like this is another one that goes right in line with the others, where Leatherface is at one point pretty much pushed to the side, and Viggo is your main villain.
Who actually had more of a climax. Because it does, like, he just kind of blows up, but then we've still got some characters left. And then, obviously, Leatherface is going to be our last one. But there was that alternate ending, which I thought I had imagined or dreamt for the longest time. But I looked at, no, there is an alternate ending where Mortensen's character came back, and he was, like, all charred up. And then he got impaled by that booby trap that Alfredo was setting. Then that whole thing it seemed like it was setting up something. And that,
I guess when you don't have that ending, it's kind of pointless he was doing that.
So that did have a payoff, and I remember that image of like what he looked like when he came back and he was like all charred, and it's like I kind of liked that part actually. But because I remember watching the movie once and thinking that was in it, and then when it wasn't there, I was like, oh, so he just met a really abrupt end then when he blew up, I guess. One
thing I do like about Viggo in this one, too, is in the first two, like, Chop Top's weird, clearly by sight. Nubbins is weird, clearly by sight. Viggo is not. Viggo's handsome. He's charming. He appears to be helpful. He completely goes against the grain of what we're used to seeing with these family members. I would say, and this is a really weird statement to make, but I would say of the families depicted in the movies, this one feels like the most normal people.
They're very familial. Where it's like when they like apologize to each other, they get each other gifts. It's like a real thing. Now, obviously, there are other moments.
Like Tinker is abusive. But
I love the moment when Tinker throws the tape into the oven and it's caught fire, and Leatherface is basically making him get it, and he goes to reach in for with his hook, and Leatherface makes him use his actual hand.
I love 2. 2 didn't have this because there wasn't really a door, but I love that every movie has a recurring theme that someone's pissed off that Leatherface destroyed the door. I love that keeps coming back. Because I remember the first one, look at the damn door! And then, like, in this one, he's mad about the door. In Next Generation, they're mad about the door. In the remake, I'm pretty sure they got mad about the door.
On the cannibal front, there is one part where they do bring that in, like really explicitly, and it is kind of a great scene when Leatherface is just like in his room and he's got like that toy, and it like shows you a picture, and you type in what that picture is, and it's like a clown face, and he just keeps typing food. And even though they say it's incorrect, he just keeps trying to type food.
Yeah.
It's funny to get moments like that, too, because it is funny that this is a movie called Leatherface. And it's a pretty... character-wise, it's quite an ensemble for this being the movie they decided to call Leatherface.
Yeah.
It's got surprisingly little Leatherface in it for being the first movie called Leatherface.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not the last, but...
No.
We'll get to that point eventually.
I would say I don't think this one's as good as 1 or 2, but when we rewatched it, it's better than I remembered it being.
Yeah, I had barely any memory of it, and I had seen it at least a couple of times. But it was just like, it felt like so insignificant in the franchise. But it does have its own thing going on. It does also feel like it strays a little bit more from just being like a basic slasher movie. Like, it feels like there's a lot of different things going on with a lot of different characters. And I find that kind of interesting, especially for a movie that's so short. So, but it's also got great moments where we have, like, our memory of the franchise, and the movie knows we have memories of the franchise. So we have a character that, like, breaks the Texas Chainsaw rule of don't go in the fucking house.
Yeah.
And it's like whenever somebody goes to the house thinking it's a safety ground, and it's like that's the, oh god, this is when it's really gonna ramp up now, is when they think they're reaching safety and they're at the house. And this, because we're centered on this couple who we haven't really mentioned because they're not particularly memorable. But what's really funny also is they are a couple, but I feel like I've always remembered them as siblings. I definitely get...
Maybe it's because they're always fighting. So it's like a Franklin and Sally vibe.
That could be. It's kind of like it's kind of got the vibes of Justin Long and his sister at the beginning of Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, because it's a couple, but they're clearly at a crossroads in their relationship.
Yeah. And that's basically the extent of their character development.
Yeah. Pretty much. And then she just leaves with Ken Foree at the end.
Yeah.
Which I still don't know how Ken Foree survived.
No, I think there's a lot of horror movies where we can ask that, and I don't think we know. The two of us and your wife just finished watching Scream 6, and that's another. You want to talk about that kind of being a horror staple a bit? Yeah, sometimes they'll just come back, and I guess we just run with it.
I'd kind of like to know what happened to Ken Foree's character after. And I like how we don't get a lot of exposition on what he is, like, because we could, like, the remake prequel, for example, where Matt Bomer pretty much drills into everybody, I'm a soldier, I go to war, I want to be there. The only indication that we get that Ken Foree's a soldier and he's resourceful like that is somebody says, were you a soldier? And he says, only on the weekends. And that's all we get.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like, oh, he's National Guard, and then we don't touch it again.
And another thing Ken Foree gave us, it's like, we see the first movie, and it's like the scariest shit ever when they're in the house. And then we see the layer in the second movie, and it's like, everything just like closes in. And it's like, it's kind of what we've been anticipating and maybe secretly hoping for when we are at the house. We know this is where everything ramps up. We know this is when it gets super scary. And we know this is when the likelihood of survival is getting very, very low. And then for the first time in the franchise, Ken Foree shows up and just decides, I'm just going to fucking shoot the place up.
Yeah. I don't think he ever enters the house.
Yeah, not that I remember.
No. And he
the-
lives. Let that be a lesson.
Yeah, and Tinker and the mom, I think, their deaths are just kind of implied.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even think they have confirmed deaths, do they?
I don't think so.
It's just like he just shot the place up, and then like Tex and Leatherface ran out and had their own sort of climax of their own.
Mm-hmm.
And then
It's funny you were talking about how they like apologize and stuff, because one of Viggo's scenes is like, I told you to call me Tex, and Tinker's like, I'm sorry, bud. Like,
yeah, I think that's actually the scene I was thinking of when I was like, yeah, so they even apologize to each other.
Yeah.
They appreciate each other's nicknames.
Yeah.
He appreciates Tex's identity.
Yeah, and maybe I'm remembering wrong, because we've crammed in a lot of Texas Chainsaw in the last 2 days, but I don't even remember them being overly disrespectful to Leatherface himself.
Yeah, just when he threw his tape in the oven.
Yeah, that was it.
And then
Leatherface made his point, and he didn't cross him again.
Yeah, he went to his room and he played with that toy.
Yeah.
Thought about how much he wanted to eat people.
Yeah.
That's what Leatherface does. He wears faces and thinks about eating people.
Yeah.
It's like, just leave him alone.
Yeah. He even tried to share his love of music.
Yeah.
And the girl wasn't having it.
Yeah.
I think it hurt his feelings.
Yeah, he's not somebody whose feelings you want to hurt.
No.
We saw how he got sexually rejected in the second movie and how that made him feel.
I'm kind of glad that went away after
Yeah.
the second movie.
Yeah. Again, you look at the second movie and he's getting bullied for being a virgin, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
You look at them and it's like, hey, buddy, I'll call you Tex. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
I feel like this one's always an interesting one to come back to because, like we were saying, it does feel, like, insignificant in the franchise. But it's got stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be interested to see what it's like when we come back to it again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, because by then we'll probably have forgotten again, like, what all is in Leatherface again?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of an ensemble piece, and it's kind of not that bad.
But I feel like that's also kind of an indictment on it, that you watch it, and while you're watching it, you're like, oh, okay, and then not too long after, you've forgotten it.
Yeah.
Like, there's shit you remember about, too, like the Lair and Chop Top, and the first one is the first one. But this one, it's like, you watch it, you're like, yeah, this ain't bad, but you're not gonna remember much about it.
Yeah. The main thing I remembered about this one was the skeleton doll.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and you know, by association, the girl herself, and like the way she stabs her and like giggles, and her room is that room full of bones, and
yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that kind of gets because it is like, I guess you could say it's kind of repetitive and goes in circles in a bit when we're like out in the woods in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And Ken Forey's out there doing his thing. It does kind of feel like it might just be stuck in place.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I feel like it does what it needs to do overall.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else on this one?
No, I think it's time to get the one we keep alluding to.
All right. So here's the thing about The Next Generation, or Return of the Texas. I've never seen like a return of really anything, like DVD or anything like that. I've just kind of had this one. So this movie, whether it be Return or Next Generation, whatever you call it, has a really bad reputation and always has. It's been seen as like not just the worst of the franchise, but like maybe one of the worst movies ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like back in the day when this meant something, it was on IMDb's bottom 100 and made all those lists of like worst sequels ever, worst horror movies ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I remember getting this DVD, it was a blind buy, and I watched it, and with all that build-up thinking that it wasn't that bad. And I think something that really carried it and really warped that perspective was McConaughey doing everything he could to make this entertaining.
I have two big positives for this movie I'll lead off with. Number one, McConaughey is having the time of his life, and I love him for how much fun he's having.
Yes.
And the second thing, the beginning, before Renee Zellweger gets to the house and she's just wandering through the woods, is greatly shot.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of really creepy atmosphere, because it's like, it's not totally dark, like, it's kind of lit up in a little way, but the eeriness is there. Like, the way they use fog, and how, like, people disappear into the fog.
Yeah.
Like, that's done really well.
And this makes for a good segue, actually, because you're talking about the positives of how it looks,
Mm-hmm.
and we're also talking about its reputation for being one of the worst things ever.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those things make it interesting that the writer and director of this movie
Mm-hmm.
is Tobe Hooper's co-writer on the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very confusing. It's a very confusing thing to know about this movie.
Yeah. I'll throw in another third positive thing. This movie is batshit insane, barely makes sense, is just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks, but I will give it full credit. It is never boring.
Yeah.
It is never boring.
I think that's another thing that may have stood out.
I've
to
seen
me.
better movies that are much more boring.
I think that's another thing that might have stood out to me when I was like, is this really that bad when I first saw it?
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, was it that it's always got something going on and it's always got drawing you in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with all of that said, having rewatched it recently, it's like I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get that sentiment that it is not great.
And this is where I was talking about earlier, where I said that Leatherface, they either got his gender fluidity or he just became a hulking monster. This is one where it goes the complete opposite way, and they try to do too much with it.
Yeah. Like, what is it they say on the back here? Leatherface crosses divine with Hannibal Lecter. First of all, I'm guessing the only Hannibal Lecter thing in here is the implication that they eat people.
And it's funny, you were talking about how in the third one they felt the most familial. This one, they definitely feel the most disjointed, because McConaughey just goes around and just hits people and does whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And his little mechanical leg kills me, because you just hear it whirring through every scene, and it's like... And it's like...
Which is a really funny transition from the leg brace that Leatherface had in the third movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea. Let's elaborate on it a little bit, but give it to a different character.
Yeah.
That's going to kind of own the movie.
Yeah.
That's not Leatherface at all.
And another thing I have to give them credit for is in the Texas Chainsaw movies, there's not the second one so much, but with the first one with Drayton and the third one with Viggo, there's a lot of deception. There's a lot of, maybe I can trust this person. McConaughey snaps a neck less than 2 minutes into his screen time.
And immediately after he's met another person.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, I'm gonna pretend to be charming, I'm gonna pretend to be helpful, and then I'm gonna lure this person in. No, he just lets this person know right away.
He starts with coming up, that guy's dead. I don't think he is. I heard him talking in his sleep. I said he's dead. And it's like, oh, okay. It's this kind of person.
And then, by the way, he immediately pulls a knife on him right after that.
Yeah. And I think his line is, I'm going to kill you, not a biggie, or something like that. Or no big deal, or something like that.
He takes the movie a long way.
He does. He does. Without him, the movie crashes and burns harder. But his over-the-topness and it's like, I wouldn't even say it's bad. He's just so over the top and having fun.
Yeah. And it is worth noting that the main co-star in this is a 2-time Oscar-winning actress that we all know.
And she ping-pongs back and forth more than any final girl I've ever seen. She will literally point a gun at McConaughey and say, go fuck yourself, and be screaming 30 seconds later.
Yeah.
Like, she ping-pongs a lot.
Yeah.
It is kind of fun to watch her go from scared, defiant, defeated, fuck it, let's end this, to defiant again, to scared again. Like, she ping-pongs a lot.
It's like Night of the Living Dead, the original, and then the 1990 remake that Tom Savini did.
Mm-hmm.
And in the original movie, Barbara is like useless.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like unconscious for a lot of the movie, and then just dies.
Mm-hmm.
And in Tom Savini's movie, she's like a badass, and she becomes like the badass final girl and like the final survivor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like combining those two.
Yeah.
What's also really funny about this is, number one, she's one of those characters where she's supposed to be the ugly girl.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this was the same year she did Empire Records, and in Empire Records, she's like the hot girl.
Yeah.
And her friend is Liv Tyler. and she's the hot girl of Empire Records. So that's one of those things you just kind of have to run with. They don't even like try to uglify her. She's just Renee Zellweger.
Nope. They gave her glasses.
Oh, did she?
They Rachel Lee cooked her.
So barely.
Because even the woman, I can't remember, Darla, even at one point she's like, "You're pretty without your glasses."
Yeah, I feel like it's barely because she definitely is not wearing her glasses in a movie more than she's wearing them.
Yeah. Yeah, she loses them at some point and then just never gets them back.
And then it's also...
And they don't seem to affect her.
Yeah. It's also funny that this guy, Barry, is the one that's, like, making fun of her. Mm-hmm. And it's like, while I was watching him, I was like, God, Barry's just asking to die. And then sure enough, like, right after that later, there's a scene where he says, like, somebody kill me, please.
Yeah.
Did you, by the way, while we're on these opening scenes, as far as, like, callbacks go, did you find it a pretty blatantly unnecessary callback when, I think it's when it's right before their car crashes. Mm-hmm. For some reason, the camera sound effect from the original movie was in there.
Oh, I didn't catch it.
Yeah, there was just one in there, like, right before they crashed.
And then the crash, we don't even really find out where the guy came from. Like, he has one line, he says, "I'm not hurt," and falls down. And according to IMDb, "I'm not hurt" is how he's credited. And I have to give this movie all the credit in the world to McConaughey. Yeah. McConaughey took garbage and did absolutely everything he could to make it watchable.
Yeah.
But this movie goes into a trap where the few horror movies before it have gone, where it really overcomplicates why what's going on is going on. And we've completely removed the cannibals because Darla brings home pizza.
Yeah.
So, like, the cannibalism is gone.
And if there's one part of, not just any movie or horror or anything else, but even more specific, if there's one type of movie you don't want to overcomplicate, it's a slasher movie.
Yeah.
The appealing thing about a slasher movie is the simplicity.
And every time they try, it goes wrong. Halloween 6. Wasn't there a Freddy Krueger movie that did that?
A few.
Yeah. Jason has fallen down that path.
Yeah.
So, like, you don't need to do all that. It can be okay to just have a family that's completely insane and kills people. It worked in 1974.
And most of the Friday the 13th movies show that you can do that multiple times. Mm-hmm. And as long as you give the people what they want, slashers are the easiest thing you can do, the most uncomplicated thing you can do.
Mm-hmm. Come up with a creative monster or villain, and then just have some people in there to get killed in creative ways, and you're done.
Yeah, because
you can give like a 2-sentence backstory and then be done with it.
Yeah, because even if, like, because there's not even a creepy factor in this one, apart from, like, maybe some of those opening shots you were talking about. Mm-hmm. There's, like, one moment that I guess is kind of a creepy moment when she's, like, on the porch swing and Leatherface comes up behind her. Mm-hmm. And it's, like, part of that is, like, oh, no, he's right there, but another part of that is, like, she has no peripheral vision.
None.
She has zero.
Whatsoever. Whatsoever. And I think, too, like in the first... I keep going back to the first one, but it's the best one, so I have to. Drayton doesn't really come off threatening or weird in his first scene. He's just kind of like, okay, I'm in the middle of Podunk, Texas. This guy's a little off, but that seems normal for here. You immediately get a vibe from Darla. Yeah. The first time they meet her, you immediately get a vibe. Like... It's almost like it's almost like when they made this movie, they were like, why bother being subtle? Yeah. Like, you've got W.E. constantly quoting things, like...
And that's something... Completely abandoning subtlety is something that I can appreciate. Mm-hmm. If it's, wild enough and everybody's committed enough to it.
I think McConaughey is where it works.
Yeah.
It's interesting, because this movie has a case of, like... That works in one direction, and the rest of it falls on its face.
Yeah. because there is like I've been trying to think of other parts that like actually maybe somewhat work.
Mm-hmm.
There is like a decent jump moment here when there's that moment where like McConaughey has seemingly abandoned her, and then like Leatherface is behind her, like in the woods. There's something to that. There's in the house when there's the body of the cop just like standing there. It reminds me of the end of Blue Velvet when the guy's just standing there. The guy's missing the ear, and there's something eerie about that. And there's the moment when like a big would have been memorable moment where McConaughey bites her nose, but then when we see her, it's like somebody put red sunscreen on her nose.
Yeah,
like there's,
and it's like in the remake, which we'll get to, like there's still some subtlety. The guy at the house in the wheelchair is a little off, but not to the point where like Jessica Biel's dumb for thinking he's not going to help her. And R. Lee Ermey's sheriff just comes off like an asshole.
Yeah.
He doesn't come off as being dangerous. He just comes off as being an asshole and has no couth.
And then this is where you're taking out that factor we love so much, where you lure people in thinking they've reached safety, and they realize gradually that they haven't. Yeah. And in fact, they're in more danger than they've ever been.
Yeah.
It's like when you have no setup like that, and they're just immediately monsters or whatever.
Yeah. Without the car crash, this movie probably doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, the rest of it, there's something that makes it happen. But with this, like, it's just like, oh, there was a car crash and it just happened to happen. They happened to go to Darla, who called Vilmer, that was his name.
Yeah.
Without the car crash, they just keep driving.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, this is another one where you don't need Leatherface. McConaughey's enough. Just make the movie, take out Leatherface, and have McConaughey be your villain. And we don't need to bring in the weird dude in the suit with the 3 rings in his belly that's not really that much explained either. Oh, we just want to create horror. No.
Yeah, just...
Even McConaughey looks like he's not buying it.
As I said, just give us Matthew McConaughey screaming like a Tusken Raider.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
Yeah. Like, we didn't need all of... And then they just drop her at the hospital and that's the end of it? Like, no.
I'm guessing that's supposed to be Sally.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
no, I mean,
she didn't point anybody in that direction?
Yeah, I mean, going down... I mean, there's so many reasons that doesn't make sense. But I think that's the implication.
And, like, the first one and the second one had comedic moments, but this one, there's literally a fight with remotes over McConaughey's leg.
Yeah.
And there's one point it just keeps bend, unbend, bend, unbend, bend, unbend, bend, unbend. It felt like it went on forever.
Yeah.
And then finally she just gets up and runs.
Where it felt less like, oh, we're going a different tone, and more just like, it started to feel like parody. And the more characters that were revealed to be in on it, the less it felt like what we were talking about before with the gradually realizing how much danger you're in. It just started to feel like parody. Yeah. It was like in There's Something About Mary when more and more people kept showing up while he was stuck in his zipper.
But not like the remote with his leg thing. Like, I understand having comedic moments. That is borderline slapstick in a slasher movie.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. McConaughey sells the shit out of it. And Renee Zellweger sells it pretty well, too. But it's absolutely ludicrous that it's even going on in this situation.
Yeah, because I've seen this classified as a horror comedy. But, I mean, when I think of appropriate horror comedy for this franchise, I go back to 2.
Yeah.
Because 2 has, like, this level of absurdity that it's very aware of.
Yeah. And this one, like, the absurdity just goes too far. Like, there's this organization that... No.
There's the face licking that just feels like it's intended shock value.
Yeah.
The shock value thing, I think, is a big...
And the 3 rings that are never explained.
Yeah, that's a big problem in this one.
Yeah. And even, like, parts that are logical. Like, you think when that plane comes down and whacks McConaughey, you think she's going to fly away in the plane, which could make for an interesting ending. She's flying away in the plane laughing like Sally or something. But no, the fucking limo drives up out of nowhere and picks her up, and Leatherface is just left in the field.
I would like to see her flying off in a plane and kind of getting that same, like, maniacal laughter.
Mm-hmm.
Because Stretch was the same way, the maniacal laughter and, like, chainsaw wielding. It's like doing a different take every time on the maniacal laughing final girl getting away.
And the three doesn't have it. She doesn't maniacally laugh at all. She's just like, all right, we're leaving.
She's just relieved.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is fine for another subversion. But I think that's 3's main problem is the girl in 3 she was just there to be tortured. She didn't really have much. She had her fight with her husband. That was about it. Her boyfriend or whoever he was. But there wasn't like enough personality there to be interesting. Ken Foree ran laps around her in that department.
Yeah.
But this one, like, Renee Zellweger definitely showed enough personality that you could do something fun with the way the movie ends with her, and they chose not to.
Yeah.
Like, she could have been angry. She could have felt all of those emotions in the span of 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's...
And Renee Zellweger's a good enough actress, she could have pulled it off.
Yeah, even this early.
Yeah. So, I feel like this one has a lot of missed opportunities, and it was made more to see what they could get away with and what they could do to add to the absurdity without giving the absurdity any weight.
Yeah. I think that about sums it up.
Yeah.
Alright, so any more thoughts on this one?
I think we've beat this one to death pretty good.
Alright, so that's the first 4 movies in the franchise, the kind of first portion of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And then it Leatherface...
And I would rank them in the order they came.
Yeah. And then Leatherface rested for a while.
You know, I forgot, to mention, when I said that the new one was more subtle, you know you have an issue if I'm telling you the Michael Bay-produced movie is more subtle than yours.
Oh my god, yeah. And I think that sums it up.
Yeah.
So, we'll end this here, and we will continue, and the next video right after this, tomorrow, is going to be us talking about the remake and the prequel to the remake.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll do the 3rd video with the last 3 after that, and we'll be in the final stretch of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, then if there's nothing else to be said on these 4, then that's it.